Captain Lee Daewon stared out at the stars through the window of his ship. The Hanbok was humanity's first vessel that could travel faster than light. It had taken them 300 years to build it after they first left Earth. Now, in the year 2387, they were finally ready to meet whatever was out there among the stars. "Captain, we're getting a signal," said Dr. Park Minji from her seat at the communication station. She was Earth's best expert on alien life, though she had never actually seen any aliens before. None of them had. "What kind of signal?" Lee Daewon asked. It's welcoming us. They're speaking perfect Korean somehow. They want to talk." Lee Daewon felt his heart beat faster. This was it. First contact with alien life. He had dreamed of this moment since he was a child. "Put them through," he said. The main screen flickered to life. A tall, elegant creature appeared. It had blue skin that seemed to shimmer like water, and eyes that were twice as large as human eyes. When it spoke, its voice was smooth and musical. "Greetings, young humans," the creature said. "I am Ambassador Kethik of the Veltharian Empire. We have been watching your species for some time. How wonderful that you have finally learned to travel between the stars." Dr. Park Minji leaned forward. "You've been watching us?" "Of course, little one. We watch all new species when they take their first steps into space. It is our duty as members of the Galactic Council." "The Galactic Council?" Lee Daewon asked. Ambassador Kethik smiled, showing teeth that were perfectly white and pointed. "Oh, there is so much you do not know. Come, follow our ships. We will take you to meet the Council. They are very excited to see Earth's newest children." Lee Daewon did not like being called a child, but he said nothing. They had come too far to start a fight on their first day in space. The Veltharian ships were massive. Each one was at least 10 times bigger than the Hanbok. They moved through space like graceful dancers, their hulls glowing with soft light. Lee Daewon had to admit they were beautiful. The journey took 3 days. During that time, Ambassador Kethik told them about the galaxy. There were hundreds of intelligent species, he said. Most of them had been traveling the stars for thousands of years. Some, like the Veltharians, had been in space for over 50,000 years. 50,000 years? Dr. Park Minji gasped. "Oh, yes. We were already ancient when your species was, still living in caves. Do not feel bad about this, dear child. Every species must start somewhere." When they arrived at the council station, Lee Daewon's breath caught in his throat. It was a structure so large that entire planets could fit inside it. Ships from dozens of different species came and went like busy insects around a flower. "Welcome to Council Prime," Ambassador Kethik said. "The center of galactic civilization." They docked at a small bay meant for visiting ships. As they walked through the corridors, Lee Daewon saw aliens he could never have imagined. Some looked like living crystals that rang like bells when they moved. Others appeared to be clouds of gas held together by glowing energy. There were machine beings that clicked and whirred as they walked on metal legs. All of them stopped to stare at the humans as they passed. Most of them smiled in whatever way their species could smile. But the smiles reminded Lee Daewon of the way adults smiled at small children who had done something cute. The council chamber was enormous. Representatives from hundreds of species sat in curved rows that rose up like an amphitheater. At the center stood a raised platform where the humans were told to wait. Presenting the humans of Earth, Ambassador Kethik announced. "A new species, requesting recognition and membership in our great community." Dr. Park Minji stepped forward. She had prepared a speech about humanity's achievements, their art, their science, their dreams of joining the galactic community as equals. She never got to give that speech. Before she could speak, laughter filled the chamber. Not cruel laughter, but the kind of amused chuckling that adults make when children try to act grown up. A being made of living crystal rang out in a voice like wind chimes. "How precious. Look at them trying to stand so tall and proud." A cloud creature's voice whispered, through the air. "They are so young, so eager. Do they even know how to properly travel between dimensions yet?" A machine being clicked and buzzed. According to our calculations, this species achieved spaceflight only 387 of their years ago. They are infants by galactic standards. Dr. Park. Minji tried again. Honored members of the Council, humanity may be young, but we have much to offer. Our creativity, our determination, our unique perspective. More gentle laughter interrupted her. Of course you do, sweet child, said the crystal being. And in time, perhaps 1,000 years or so, you might be ready to contribute to our community, but for now you must be protected. Protected? Lee Daewon asked. Ambassador Kethik nodded kindly. This galaxy can be dangerous for young species. There are cosmic storms, hostile environments, complex political situations that could overwhelm inexperienced minds. The Council has decided to grant humanity protected species status. What does that mean? Dr. Park Minji asked, though she was starting to fear the answer. It means you will be given a safe sector of space to call your own. The machine being explained. 17-star systems, all carefully chosen for their safety and simplicity. You may explore and settle these worlds as much as you like. 17 systems. Lee Daewon could not hide his disappointment. The galaxy contained billions of stars. It may seem small now, but it is quite generous for a species of your development level, Ambassador Kethik assured him. When you have proven that you can handle the responsibility, perhaps in a few centuries we will consider expanding your territory. Dr. Park Minji felt anger rising in her chest. We are not children. We have built cities, created art, explored our own solar system, developed faster than light travel on our own. Yes, yes, the crystal being chimed soothingly. You have done wonderfully for one so young. Your species shows great promise. But you must understand, the galaxy is a complex place. There are trade agreements that have existed for millennia, diplomatic protocols that require deep understanding of history and culture, military considerations that— Military considerations? Lee Daewon interrupted. The chamber fell silent for a moment. Then the machine being spoke. The galaxy has been at peace for over 10,000 years, young human. This peace exists because mature species understand the importance of stability. Newer species, with their emotional volatility and lack of historical perspective, could easily disrupt this peace without meaning to. We're not volatile, Dr. Park Minji protested. Of course you are, dear, the cloud creature whispered. It is natural for young species. You feel everything so intensely. Joy, anger, fear, ambition. These emotions cloud judgment. In time, you will learn to think more clearly. Ambassador Kethik stepped forward. The decision has been made. Humanity will be granted protected species status. You will have your 17 systems, full trading rights within your sector, and the protection of the Galactic Council. What more could you want? We want to be treated as equals, Lee Daewon said quietly. The chamber erupted in gentle, patronizing laughter once again. Oh, my dear humans, Ambassador Kethik said when the laughter died down. You are equals. You are equal to every other protected species. There are currently 47 such species in the galaxy. You will have plenty of company at your development level. Dr. Park Minji felt something break inside her heart. They had come so far, dreamed so big, only to be patted on the head and sent to play in a cosmic sandbox. When will we be reconsidered for full membership? She asked. The machine being clicked and calculated. Based on the average development rate of similar species, we estimate you will be ready for intermediate status in approximately 800 to 1,200 years. And full membership? Perhaps 3,000 to 5,000 years, if your development proceeds normally. Journey back to Earth felt longer than the journey out. Lee Daewon stared at the stars and wondered if humanity would ever truly be free to explore them. Dr. Park Minji sat in her chair, making notes about everything they had seen and heard. But inside, she was thinking about something else entirely. If the galaxy saw them as children, perhaps it was time to show them what human children could do when they grew up. Admiral Kim Ji-woo was waiting when they returned to Earth. She listened to their report in silence, her face growing darker with each word. So we're pets. she said when they finished. Protected species, Dr. Park Minji corrected. Pets, Admiral Kim Ji-woo repeated firmly. Well-fed, well-cared-for pets in a very nice cage. She stood up and walked to the window that showed Earth, spinning slowly below them. They think we're children who need protection, she said. Maybe it's time we showed them what human children are really capable of. Lee Dae-won looked at her carefully. What are you thinking, Admiral? Kim Ji-woo smiled, but it was not a kind smile. I'm thinking that the galaxy is about to learn something new about humanity. We may be young, but we grow up fast. 25 years had passed since humanity's humiliating welcome to the galaxy. On the surface, it looked like humans had accepted their place as a protected species. They had colonized 12 of their 17 allowed star systems. They built cities, grew food, and raised families in their cosmic playpen. But appearances could be deceiving. Director Choi Hyun-woo sat in a room that officially did not exist, on a station that was not on any galactic charts. Around him, holographic displays showed star maps that stretched far beyond humanity's assigned territory. The room was hidden deep inside asteroid mining station Beta 7, which the Galactic Council believed was just another human rock processing facility. Report, he said to the woman who had just entered. Captain Nam Sora was 32 years old and had never officially left human space. According to galactic records, she was a cargo pilot who transported supplies between human colonies. Reality, she commanded humanity's most secret weapon, a fleet of ships that could travel anywhere in the galaxy without being detected. We've completed our survey of the Veltharian home system, she said, placing a data chip on the table. Their planetary defenses are impressive to look at, but they're mostly for show. The weapon platforms haven't been updated in over 1,000 years. And their patrol fleets? Slow, predictable, and undermanned. Most of their ships are crewed by junior officers who treat space patrol as a boring duty assignment. They're not expecting any real threats. Choi Hyun-woo nodded. This was what they had been discovering throughout the galaxy. The ancient alien civilizations had grown soft. Thousands of years of peace had made them forget how to fight. What about the other council races? Nam Sora smiled grimly. The crystal beings, the Nathori, are even worse. Their entire military is ceremonial. They haven't fought a real war in 5,000 years. The cloud creatures, the Wisperians, don't even have what we would call weapons. And the machine race, the Korthax, rely entirely on computer calculations that assume any enemy will follow predictable patterns. Predictable patterns they've never seen humans use, Choi Hyun-woo said with satisfaction. The door opened again, and engineer Yang Min-ho walked in. He looked tired but excited, the way he always did when he had been working on a new project. The stealth upgrades are complete, he announced. All 47 ships in the Shadow Fleet now have the new quantum masking technology. The alien sensors will think we're just background cosmic radiation. How is that possible? Nam Sora asked. Yang Min-ho grinned. The council races have been using the same sensor technology for thousands of years. They never saw the need to improve it, because they never encountered anything that could hide from it. But human technology develops differently. We're always trying to make things better, faster, smaller, more efficient. While they've been standing still, Choi Hyun-woo said. Exactly. Their computers can't even process the idea that a ship might not show up on their sensors. If their instruments don't detect something, their systems assume it's not there. This was the secret that humanity had discovered over the past 25 years. The Galactic Council wasn't superior to humans in every way. They were superior in some ways. They had more experience, more knowledge of the galaxy, access to exotic materials and ancient technologies. But they had one fatal weakness. They had stopped growing. For 50,000 years, the Veltharians had used the same basic ship designs, the same weapons, the same tactics. The Crystal Nathori had perfected their technology so long ago that the idea of change seemed unnecessary. The Cloud Wisperians existed in a state of peaceful meditation, while the machine Korthax followed programs that had been written millennia ago. But humans were different. Humans could not stop changing, improving, adapting. It was their nature. "Show me the recruitment numbers," Choi Hyun-woo said. Namsora activated another display. "We now have contacts in 43 different protected species. Turns out, a lot of younger races are not happy with their status. The Rokani are particularly eager to help. The Council has been protecting them for 800 years. And they're tired of it? Very tired. Their latest generation has never seen their homeworld's moons because the Council decided moon mining was too dangerous for developing species. They've been asking for 300 years for permission to mine their own moons." Choi Hyun-woo shook his head. The Council's idea of protection was starting to look more like imprisonment. "What about weapons?" he asked Yang Minho. "That's where it gets interesting," the engineer replied. "The Council races use energy weapons, almost exclusively. Big, bright, powerful blasts that can destroy ships and cities. Very impressive. But they're designed for fighting other Council races who use similar technology. Their shields and armor are built to stop energy weapons. They've never encountered kinetic weapons like ours." Kinetic weapons? Bullets, missiles, railguns, weapons that physically hit their targets instead of burning them. "Our testing shows that their shields barely slow down a simple steel projectile moving at high speed." Namsora looked surprised. "You mean we can hurt them with primitive weapons?" "Not primitive," Yang Minho corrected. "Different. We've been developing kinetic weapons for centuries because that's what worked best for us. Meanwhile, they've been perfecting energy shields because that's what they needed to stop energy weapons. It's like..." He paused, thinking. "It's like they've been building armor to stop swords for thousands of years, and we show up with guns." "Speaking of showing up," Choi Hyun-woo said, "what's our current intelligence network status?" "We have hidden monitoring stations in 67 Council systems," Namsora reported. "The aliens keep finding our stations and assuming they're natural phenomena. Last week, a Veltharian science team spent 3 days studying one of our relay satellites because they thought it was a new type of space crystal. They can't imagine that a protected species would have the technology to spy on them," Choi Hyun-woo said. "Or the boldness. This was perhaps humanity's greatest advantage. The Council races literally could not imagine that their children were capable of advanced espionage. When they found human technology, they assumed it was either natural phenomena or artifacts left behind by some unknown ancient race." "Sir," Yang Minho said carefully, "I have to ask, what's the endgame here? We've been preparing for 25 years, but preparing for what?" Choi Hyun-woo was quiet for a long moment. Then he activated a display showing Earth's first colony, Worlds. 3 months ago, the Veltharians informed us that our colony on New Busan needs to be temporarily relocated. They want to build a luxury resort where our people have been living for 15 years. "Can they do that?" Namsora asked. "According to galactic law, protected species have no property rights outside their assigned systems. New Busan is in System 16, which they now say was assigned to us in error. And if we refuse, they'll move us anyway. For our own good, of course. They can't allow children to make such important decisions for themselves." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "Sir," Namsora said slowly, "are we talking about war?" "I'm talking about graduation," Choi Hyun-woo replied. "For 25 years we've been treated like children. Maybe it's time to show the galaxy that we've grown up." Yang Minho looked nervous. "The Council has millions of ships, billions of soldiers. They control thousands of worlds." "Yes, Choi," Hyun-woo agreed. "But they're fighting the last war, not the next one. They're prepared to fight other Council races using Council tactics with Council technology. They're not prepared to fight humans." "What makes us so special?" Namsora asked. Choi Hyun-woo smiled, but it was not a pleasant smile. "We're special because we're the only species in the galaxy that still remembers how to grow. While they've been standing still for millennia, we've been learning, adapting, improving. We've spent 25 years studying their weaknesses while they've been ignoring our strengths." He stood up and walked to a window that showed the stars beyond their hidden station. "More importantly, we're the only species in the galaxy that refuses to accept that anyone should be treated as children forever. The Council sees us as young and therefore inferior. But being young doesn't make you weak. Sometimes it makes you hungry? Hungry for what? Young Minho asked. Freedom. Justice. The right to make our own mistakes and achieve our own victories. The right to be treated as equals, not pets. Nam Sora stood up as well. When do we start? We've already started, Choi Hyunwoo said. 25 years ago when we decided not to accept the cage they built for us. Now we're just getting ready to show them what we've learned. Outside the window, stars gleamed in the darkness. Somewhere among those stars, the Galactic Council was making plans to move human families like pieces on a game board. They thought, humanity was still the same helpless species that had stumbled into their first galactic meeting 25 years ago. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Gentlemen, lady, Choi Hyunwoo said, it's time to call a meeting. Get me every cell leader, every ship captain, every intelligence operative we have in the field, and get me a secure line to Earth Command. What message should I send? Nam. Sora asked. Tell them the children are ready to leave the nursery. As his team rushed to carry out his orders, Choi Hyunwoo remained at the window, looking out at the galaxy that had dismissed. Governor Seo Tae-hyung stood on the observation deck of New Busan's Capitol building, watching the sunrise over the city his people had built. 15 years ago, this had been an empty world with breathable air and decent soil. Now, 2 million humans called it home. His daughter Soo-young ran up beside him, her school bag bouncing on her shoulder. Dad, is it true that we might have to leave? She asked. Seo Tae-hyung knelt down to her level. She was 8 years old, born on New Busan. This was the only home she had ever known. Some people think we should move to a different world, he said, carefully. But this is our home. We built it. We're not going anywhere. Good, Soo-young said firmly. I like it here. My friends are here. As she ran off to catch her school transport, Seo Tae-hyung felt his communication device buzz. The message was from Earth marked with the highest priority code. Governor, came the voice of President Kwon Jimin. I just received word from the Veltharian embassy. They're sending ships to New Busan. When? They're already on their way. Arrival in 72 hours. Seo Tae-hyung closed his eyes. For 3 months they had been negotiating, pleading, asking for more time. The Veltharians had been polite but firm. New Busan would be evacuated so they could build their luxury resort. The humans would be relocated to a more suitable world chosen by the Council. How many ships? He asked. 50 vessels, including troop transports. They're calling it a humanitarian relocation assistance mission. And if we refuse to go? There was a long pause. They say they will help us pack. Seo Tae-hyung understood. 50 ships was not a rescue mission. It was an invasion force. Mr. President, I need to ask you something directly. Are we alone in this? Another pause. Then President Kwon Jae-min's voice became very quiet. Governor, you should know that not all of humanity is as helpless as the Council believes. There are resources that have been prepared for situations like this. What kind of resources? The kind that might give us options. But Governor, if you choose to resist, you need to understand what you're risking. This could mean war. SEO. Taehyung looked out at the city his people had built. Schools, hospitals, farms, homes where children played and families lived. All of it about to be bulldozed for an alien vacation resort. Mr. President, with respect, we're already at war. The Council just hasn't bothered to tell us. 3 days later, the Veltharian fleet arrived at New Busan. The lead ship was magnificent, gleaming silver and gold, 3 kilometers long and bristling with ceremonial decorations. It was the kind of ship designed to impress rather than fight. Admiral Korthak, cousin to Ambassador Kethik, opened a communication channel to the planet's surface. Greetings, humans of New Busan. I am Admiral Korthak of the Veltharian Peacekeeping Force. We have come to assist you in relocating to your new home, world which we have selected for its safety and suitability. Governor Seo Tae-hyung responded from the Capitol building. Admiral, we appreciate your concern, but we decline your assistance. This is our home. We're staying. I'm afraid that's not possible, Governor. The Galactic Council has determined that this world is unsuitable for protected species habitation. The climate is too variable, the geological activity too unpredictable. We cannot allow children to remain in such dangerous conditions. We've been living here safely for 15 years. Yes, and you've been fortunate. But fortune does not last forever. Please prepare your people for immediate evacuation. We have comfortable transport ships waiting. And if we refuse? Admiral Korthak's voice became slightly less friendly. Governor, surely you don't want to make this more difficult than necessary? Think of your children. That was a mistake. CEO Tai Hyung was thinking of his children. He was thinking of his daughter Soo-young, who would have to leave the only world she had ever known because aliens wanted to build a hotel where her school now stood. Admiral, you are not welcome here. Please leave our system. I'm afraid we cannot do that, Governor. This evacuation is for your own good. The first Veltharian shuttles launched 6 hours later. They headed for New Busan's major cities, planning to land and begin helping humans pack their belongings. They never made it to the ground. Governor Seo Tae-hyung had sent one final message to Earth 3 hours earlier. We choose to stand. Their response had been immediate. You are not alone. When the Veltharian shuttles entered New Busan's atmosphere, they encountered something no Council military force had seen in 10,000 years. Active resistance from a protected species. The first shuttle exploded in midair, hit by a missile that the Veltharian sensors had never detected. The second shuttle found its engines failing as human computer viruses infected its systems. The third shuttle made it to the ground, but found the landing zone surrounded by armed humans who were not supposed to have weapons capable of threatening Council technology. General An Yuna had arrived on New Busan 6 hours before the Veltharian fleet, along with 5,000 human soldiers and equipment that officially did not exist. She watched the battle from a command post hidden in the mountains outside the capital city. Ma'am, reported Colonel Oh Sun-ho, all Veltharian shuttles have been neutralized. No enemy forces have reached the surface. Casualties? None on our side. The Veltharians are confused. Their troops are trained for peacekeeping operations against unarmed civilians, not combat against prepared military forces. Above them, in space, Admiral Korthak was indeed confused. His beautiful ships had sensors that could detect anything the Council races might throw at them. But somehow human weapons kept appearing from nowhere and striking his vessels before disappearing again. Status report, he demanded. Sir, we've lost 17 shuttles and 3 escort fighters. Enemy weapons appear to be some form of kinetic projectile, but our sensors cannot locate the launch platforms. That's impossible. Protected species don't have cloaking technology. Sir, perhaps they acquired it from another source? Admiral Korthak considered this. Could another Council race be supplying weapons to the humans? But why? And how had they done it without the Council's knowledge? Sir, another officer called. We're receiving a transmission from the human government on Earth. Put it through. President Kwon Jae-min appeared on the screen. He looked calm and determined in a way that made Admiral Korthak uncomfortable. Admiral, I am ordering you to withdraw from the New Busan system immediately. Admiral Korthak laughed. Mr. President, you seem to have forgotten your place. Protected species do not give orders to Council forces. Admiral, you seem to have forgotten that we are not the helpless children you met 25 years ago. Withdraw now, or face the consequences. What consequences? You have 17 small worlds and a few dozen primitive ships. I have 50 vessels of the Veltharian peacekeeping fleet. Admiral, look at your tactical display. How many ships do you have now? Admiral Korthak glanced at his screens and felt his blood turn cold. During their conversation, his fleet had lost 8 more vessels. They simply vanished from his sensors there one moment and gone the next. That's impossible, he whispered. Admiral, humanity has had 25 years to prepare for this day. We have used that time well. This is your final warning. Withdraw, or we will withdraw you. Admiral Korthak cut the transmission and turned to his tactical officer. Deploy. All peacekeeping forces to the planet's surface. If the humans want to play at war, we'll show them what real military power looks like. That was his second mistake. The Veltharian peacekeeping forces were military units that had spent the last 1,000 years maintaining order on council worlds where the biggest threat was usually drunk civilians or minor civil disputes. They had never faced organized military resistance. When they landed outside New Busan's capital city, they found themselves in a battle they did not know how to fight. Human soldiers appeared from hidden positions, struck hard and fast, then disappeared before the Veltharians could respond. Their energy weapons, designed to disable rather than kill, were useless against humans in powered armor who fought with kinetic weapons that tore through Veltharian shields like paper. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, half of Admiral Korthak's ground forces were dead or captured, and the other half were hiding in their landing ships, afraid to come out. But the worst was yet to come. In the chaos of the battle, no one noticed 8-year-old Su-young and her friends playing in what they thought was a safe zone near the city's main school. When panicked Veltharian soldiers started firing their weapons in all directions, the children had no time to run. Governor Seo Tae-hyung found his daughter's body an hour after the battle ended. She was holding hands with 2 of her friends. All 3 had been killed by Veltharian energy weapons. The news of the children's death spread across human space within hours. President Kwon Jae-min addressed the nation with tears in his eyes. Today, the Galactic Council showed us what they really think of human children. Today, they showed us what their protection is really worth. General An Yuna stood beside the fair president. Her face was stone, but her eyes burned with fury. "We tried to solve this peacefully," she said. "We asked to be treated as equals. We begged for the right to make our own choices. We pleaded for respect." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "They answered with violence against our children. So now they will learn what happens when you threaten human." General An Yuna stood in the war room beneath Earth's capital city, surrounded by holographic displays showing the entire galaxy. Red dots marked council military installations. Blue dots showed human forces. The red dots vastly outnumbered the blue ones, but that was about to change. "Operation Rising Sun begins in 6 hours," she announced to the room full of officers. "Are all teams in position?" Admiral Baek Ji-yeon, commander of humanity's stealth fleet, nodded. 47 ships are positioned throughout council space. The aliens still don't know we exist. Colonel Oh Sun-ho, leader of human special forces, smiled grimly. "My teams are on 17 different worlds. The council thinks we're all back home in our little protected zone." "And our new allies?" General An Yuna asked. 68 protected species have agreed to join us," replied Dr. Lim Chae-young, humanities expert on psychological warfare. "Turns out a lot of children are tired of being treated like pets." The plan was complex but elegant. For 25 years, humanity had been studying the Council's weaknesses. Now they would strike at all of them simultaneously. "Remember," General An Yuna said, "this is not about conquest, this is about freedom. We're not trying to destroy the Council races. We're trying to destroy the Council system. There's a difference." 6 hours later, the galaxy learned what human warfare looked like. Admiral Baek Ji-yeon's stealth ship struck first. 12 Veltharian military stations simply vanished in balls of fire, destroyed by weapons the aliens never saw coming. The attacks were precise, targeting only military installations and government facilities. No civilian areas were touched, but the psychological impact was enormous. The mighty Veltharian Empire, which had ruled star systems for 50,000 years, was being attacked by invisible enemies who struck without warning and disappeared like ghosts. "How is this possible?" demanded Empress Nethakala, the crystal being who led the Nethori. "Protected species do not have this kind of technology. Perhaps they stole it," suggested Whisper Lord Ethan of the Gas Cloud Whisperians. "From whom?" asked the Machine Intelligence Primary Logic Unit 7 of the Korthaks. "Our scans show no evidence of Council technology in their attacks." They were right. Human weapons were completely different from anything the Council had ever seen. While the aliens used energy beams and particle weapons, humans had perfected kinetic bombardment, shooting pieces of metal at incredible speeds. The Council's shields, designed to stop energy weapons, were useless against chunks of tungsten moving at significant fractions of light speed. But the real shock came when Colonel Osunho's team struck their targets. On the crystal world of Nethia Prime, government buildings began exploding in perfect sequence. The Nethori security forces rushed to investigate, only to find human soldiers who had somehow bypassed every defense system on the planet. "How did you get here?" demanded General Githak, the highest-ranking Nethori military officer. Colonel Osunho smiled. "We walked through your front door. Your security systems are designed to detect Council technology." "We don't use Council technology." Before the Nethori could respond, their communication networks went dark. Their power grids failed. Their transportation systems shut down. Within hours, the most advanced crystal beings in the galaxy were reduced to shouting at each other in the dark. Similar scenes played out across 18 Council worlds. Human Special Forces teams, using technology the aliens couldn't detect, struck at the heart of Council infrastructure. They didn't kill civilians, but they made it impossible for the Council governments to function. The worst part, from the Council's perspective, was that they couldn't fight back effectively. Their military forces had been designed to fight other Council races using predictable tactics and familiar technology. They had no idea how to fight humans. "Sir," reported a Veltharian tactical officer, "our energy weapons have minimal effect on human armor. Their kinetic weapons are destroying our ships faster than we can target them. And somehow they keep appearing in places where our sensors show empty space." Admiral Korthak, still trapped at New Busan, was beginning to understand the scope of the disaster. "Have you tried adapting our shields to stop kinetic weapons?" "Sir, our shield generators were never designed for that kind of impact. Retrofitting the entire fleet would take months." "How many months do we have?" The officer checked his displays. "At current loss rates, perhaps 3 weeks before we lose fleet cohesion, but the Council's problems were just beginning." Dr. Lim Chae-young had spent 5 years studying Council psychology and sociology. She understood something that the aliens themselves had forgotten. Their society was held together by the belief that they were superior to all other species. If that belief cracked, everything would collapse. Her psychological warfare campaign began on the 3rd day of the war. Across the galaxy, communication networks carried a simple message: video footage of human children on New Busan, killed by Veltharian peacekeepers who were supposed to be protecting them. The reaction was swift and devastating. Most Council citizens had never seen actual footage of violence. Their societies had been peaceful for so long that the sight of dead children was shocking beyond their ability to process. But Dr. Lim Chae-young wasn't finished. The second wave of messages showed the truth about protected species status. In Hidden, cameras revealed Council officials laughing about keeping younger races in their place. Recordings of private meetings where alien leaders discussed how to prevent protected species from becoming too independent. "Look at how they really see you," the messages said. "Look at how they talk about you when they think you can't hear." Effect was immediate. Across the galaxy, protected species began to rebel. The Rokani, who had been asking permission to mine their own moons for 800 years, simply started mining without permission. The Deltari, told they were too young to handle interstellar trade, began trading directly with other species. Within a week, 43 protected species had declared independence from the Council. Most of them were using human-supplied weapons and technology. "This is chaos," whispered Whisper Lord Ethan. "The natural order is breaking down." There was nothing natural about your order, replied President Kwon Jae-min during a galaxy-wide broadcast. "You built a system where age mattered more than ability, where accident of evolution mattered more than achievement, where the old could dismiss the young regardless of merit." "We maintained peace," protested Empress Nethikala. "You maintained control," President Kwon Jae-min shot back. "And you called it peace because no one was allowed to fight back." The Council tried to respond with overwhelming force. They gathered their greatest battle fleets, massive armadas of ships that had kept peace in the galaxy for millennia. They were magnificent to behold. Thousands of vessels, each one a masterpiece of engineering and artistry. Energy weapons that could crack planets, shields that could stop the most powerful attacks, crews trained in tactics perfected over hundreds of thousands of years. None of it mattered. Admiral Baek Ji-yeon's stealth fleet struck the Council armadas like wolves attacking sheep. Human ships appeared from nowhere, fired devastating kinetic salvos, and vanished before the aliens could return fire. The Council fleets, designed for spectacular battles against visible enemies, were helpless against invisible attackers. "Where are they?" demanded Fleet Commander Zilthor of the Veltharian. "Grand Fleet, unknown, sir. Our sensors show empty space, but we keep taking hits from multiple directions. Then fire at the empty space." "Sir, we have been, but space is very large, and we don't know which empty space to shoot at." The psychological effect was devastating. Council soldiers, who had never faced a real threat in their entire careers, found themselves fighting an enemy they couldn't see, couldn't predict, and couldn't understand. Morale collapsed. Entire fleet units began surrendering rather than face the invisible human ships. Some Council worlds declared neutrality, hoping to avoid the fate of the military installations that kept vanishing in brief, bright explosions. But the Council's greatest shock came when they realized the scope of human intelligence operations. "How long have they been watching us?" asked Primary Logic Unit 7, reviewing reports of human activity throughout Council space. "At least 20 years, admitted Intelligence Director Vorthak. "Possibly longer. They have monitoring stations in systems we thought were secure. They know our fleet movements, our communication protocols, our defensive positions. But that's impossible. We've been watching them." "Sir, I believe they've been watching us watch them, and learning from it." This was the heart of humanity's advantage. While the Council had been observing humans like scientists studying lab, humans had been observing the Council like students studying teachers. The aliens had learned nothing new about humanity in 25 years because they thought there was nothing worth learning. But humans had learned everything about the Council because they knew their survival depended on it. The war that the Council expected to last days stretched into weeks, then months. Human forces, vastly outnumbered but fighting with superior technology and tactics, continued to win battle after battle. More importantly, the rebellion was spreading. Species that had been protected by the Council for thousands of years were declaring independence. The end came not with a massive battle, but with a single moment of terrible miscalculation. Empress Nethicala stood in the Crystal Cathedral at the heart of Nethia Prime, surrounded by the remaining members of the Galactic Council. For 6 months, they had watched their perfect order collapse as human forces continued their impossible victories across the galaxy. "We have one option left," she announced, her crystal voice ringing like broken bells. "The ancient weapons." Whisper Lord Ethan's gaseous form shimmered with concern. "Those weapons have been sealed for 50,000 years. We swore never to use them again after the last purification war." "These are desperate times," said Primary Logic Unit 7 of the Korthax. "Calculation indicates that conventional forces are insufficient to stop human expansion. The ancient weapons were relics from the galaxy's violent past, before the Council had brought peace to the stars. They were planet killers, star destroyers, weapons so terrible that their use had horrified even their creators. The Council races had sealed them away and sworn to build a better galaxy through wisdom instead of force. Now, faced with losing control to a species they had dismissed as children, they were ready to break their most sacred oaths. "The humans must be taught their place," Empress Nethicala declared. "If we cannot control them, we will destroy them. Earth will burn as an example to any other species that dares to challenge our authority." The plan was simple and horrifying. Ancient weapon platforms hidden in dead systems throughout the galaxy would be reactivated. Their target, the human homeworld. Earth would be turned into a burning cinder, and humanity would die screaming for mercy. But the Council had forgotten something important. They were no longer the only ones with spies in the galaxy. Captain Nam Sora intercepted the activation codes 2 hours before the ancient weapons came online. Her stealth ship, hidden in the shadow of a gas giant, watched in horror as weapon Platforms the size of moons began to power up throughout Council space. Earth Command, she transmitted on the emergency channel. This is Ghost 7. The Council is activating planet killer weapons. Estimated time to Earth strike, 14 hours. The response came from General Anyuna herself. Understood, Ghost 7. Execute Protocol Omega. Nam Sora smiled grimly. Protocol Omega was humanity's final contingency plan, prepared for exactly this situation. If the Council ever tried to destroy Earth, humanity would respond by removing the Council's ability to govern the galaxy forever. All Ghost units, this is Ghost 7. Protocol Omega is now active. You know what to do. Across the galaxy, 47 human stealth ships received the same message. Each ship had spent months positioning itself near a critical Council installation. Now they would strike simultaneously at the heart of alien civilization. But Nam Sora had a special target. Her ship was positioned near the ancient weapon control station in the Nethia system. Intelligence reports indicated that this facility coordinated all the planet-killer weapons in the galaxy. Ghost 7 to all units, she transmitted. I'm going in. Her ship, invisible to Council sensors, slipped past the station's defenses like a shadow moving through light. The facility was massive, built into an asteroid and protected by energy shields that could stop any known weapon. Any known Council weapon. Nam Sora's ship carried something the Council had never seen. A human-designed reality disruptor, a weapon that didn't just destroy matter, but unraveled the fundamental forces that held it together. For Su Yung, she whispered, thinking of the little girl who had died on New Busan. For all the children. The reality disruptor fired. The ancient weapon control station didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist, taking a significant portion of space-time with it. The resulting implosion created a gravitational anomaly that would puzzle scientists for centuries. But more importantly, it sent feedback through the entire ancient weapon network. On weapon platforms throughout the galaxy, systems designed to destroy planets turned their power inward instead. Ancient AIs, confused by the sudden loss of their control center, began targeting the platforms themselves. Empress Nethicala watched in crystalline horror as her last hope turned into her worst nightmare. Instead of destroying Earth, the ancient weapons were destroying themselves and taking significant portions of Council space with them. Status report, she demanded. Empress, came the terrified voice of her tactical coordinator. All ancient weapon platforms are experiencing cascade failures. The network is turning on itself. How is that possible? Unknown, Empress. But the explosions are creating spatial distortions throughout our territory. 13 Nethori worlds are experiencing gravitational anomalies. The homeworld itself is showing stress fractures. As if to emphasize the point, the crystal cathedral shook violently. Through the transparent walls, Empress Nethicala could see the sky burning as pieces of dying weapon platforms rained down like falling stars. The Veltharian Empire fared no better. Ancient weapons in their space exploded with such violence that entire star systems became uninhabitable. The beautiful capital world of Velthar Prime, which had stood as a monument to alien superiority for 50,000 years, cracked apart, like an egg when a weapon platform fell into its sun. The Wisperian gas cloud territory simply dissipated, their delicate atmospheric worlds torn apart by gravitational storms. The machine world of the Korthax went silent as their perfectly logical AIs tried to process the illogical cascade of destruction and suffered collective systems failures. In the span of 6 hours, the Galactic Council lost more worlds than they had in the previous 10,000 years. But the worst realization came when they understood what had happened. The humans, whispered Primary Logic Unit 7, its voice filled with something machines weren't supposed to feel, awe. They turned our own weapons against us. How? Demanded Empress Nethicala. They understood something we forgot, the machine replied. The ancient weapons were networked for coordination. The humans simply fed the network instructions it couldn't process. Rather than destroy Earth, the weapons destroyed the network, and themselves and us. President Lee Seung-min, who had replaced Quan Jamin as Earth's leader, addressed the shattered remains of the Galactic Council 3 days later. His message was broadcast from Earth's orbital platform to every inhabited world in the galaxy. "People of the galaxy," he began. "For 50,000 years you have lived under the rule of those who claimed to know what was best for everyone. They called themselves your guardians, your protectors, your wise elders. They treated entire species like children who couldn't be trusted with their own decisions." The transmission showed images of the devastation: burning council worlds, refugee ships fleeing the destruction, ancient civilizations reduced to begging for help from the very species they had dismissed. "Today, that age has ended," President Lee Seung-min continued. "Not because humanity sought to rule in their place, but because no one should rule over others simply because of their age or the accident of their evolution. But we're not here to gloat over the Council's fall. We're here to build something better." What came next shocked the galaxy even more than the war itself. Instead of claiming Council territory or demanding tribute from the defeated aliens, humanity began offering aid. Human rescue ships appeared throughout the former Council space, helping evacuate worlds threatened by gravitational anomalies. Human engineers worked to stabilize damaged planets. Human doctors treated alien refugees without asking about their species' past relationship with Earth. Admiral Yu Su-young, commanding the new Galactic Defense Force, explained humanity's approach to a gathering of species representatives. "We didn't fight this war to become the new council," she said. "We fought to make sure there would never be another council. No more protected species. No more cosmic nurseries. No more treating entire civilizations like children who need supervision." "Then what?" asked Ambassador Helix of the Rokani, one of the former protected species. "Then we build something new. Together. All of us." The Galactic Commonwealth was born in the ashes of the old order, but it was radically different from anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of a few ancient species ruling over everyone else, every civilization had an equal voice in the Commonwealth's assembly. Decisions were made by consensus, not by the arbitrary wisdom of self-appointed guardians. Instead of protected species status, younger civilizations received what humans called accelerated development support, help and resources to grow at their own pace, in their own way, without interference or condescension. Ambassador Park Do-hyun, humanity's chief diplomat, worked tirelessly to build trust between species that had been enemies or strangers for millennia. His approach was simple: treat everyone as equals regardless of their age, their technology, or their past mistakes. The Council's error, he explained to a mixed species conference, was believing that age equals wisdom. But we've learned that wisdom comes from experience, not from years. A young species that has struggled and grown may have more wisdom than an ancient species that has never faced real challenges. The transformation wasn't easy. Some species, particularly the older ones, struggled to accept their new status as equals rather than superiors. The surviving Nathori found it difficult to take advice from species they had once dismissed as primitive.